It's popcorn time, folks. Everybody knows by now, hundreds, if not thousands of people know the real Gary Tomlinson, the real Gary Tomlinson and family, Who Dares wins, Who Dares I win. They know much about the family as a result of this Ask Tomo website. Within an hour of leaving court yesterday, Tomlinson goes live for another tirade of lies and bullshit. Here we go.
Hi everybody, welcome to 2 Days Wins International One Loft race. This update won't be what some people are probably going to be expecting. It's about something totally different. I've just come out of court again today. That's the fourth time I've been in court with the man, you know him, Mark Lyford. Finally, it's put to bed. And I know some people are going to say, not all this again. Well, it's not you people what's had to put up with it for 4 years. It's not you people what's had to stand back there and watch your wife have a nervous breakdown. It's not you what's had to stand there and watch your son be arrested. It's me.
So, his son was arrested. His wife's had a nervous breakdown. Let's ask why. His son was arrested because Gary Tomlinson refused to let me pick the pigeons up via a courier service and insisted that I came to pick the pigeons up in person. Bullying, intimidating, typical Gary Tomlinson. And when we got there, his son assaulted my brother. That's why his son was arrested. He says his wife's had a nervous breakdown. He said that in court yesterday as well. What I'd say is actually, if it wasn't for his wife, this whole thing would have been done many years ago. It was his wife that refused to pay £3,000 an initial settlement that Gary had agreed to. It was his wife that's caused a lot of this problem. It was a wife that caused a lot of the problem on the day we went to pick the 7 pigeons up. I've asked the question before, is Gary Tomlinson the Donald Trump of the racing pigeon world? I think he may be. I think he takes a lot of the playbook from Donald Trump. I think he thinks if you say lies enough, they'll become facts. Let's remind ourselves of how this all started publicly online. Gary decided to take the social media in March 2020, telling people not to be fooled by me for calling his pigeons, which were my pigeons, in his race, venture pigeons. And then after an hour's phone call in April, trying to resolve it with no resolution, just 70 minutes later, bear in mind Gary and his family live 45 minutes from me. Just 70 minutes later, my car was blown up in my driveway, just 20 foot away from where my partner and my 16-year-old son at the time were. My son, as a result of that, left this house for 4 weeks as he was so scared at the time. We all know, or the intelligent ones listening to this, know that the bully always turns the victim if they're stood up to. And that's what Gary Tomlinson's been doing for a while now. He did it in court yesterday. But what he fails to mention is all of the hassle, tremendous upset that he's given to my family and I over the course of the last 4 years. But again, the bully always turns the victim.
And finally, the final chapter's over. It's done with. Differences with me and him, my background. I lived on a council estate for 40 years, a rough council estate. I worked as a coal miner for 33 years. So in all that time, I was taught and learnt to respect people, to be honest, and to know what's right from wrong.
So he takes great pride in saying that he was a coal miner and he lived on a rough council estate. The kind of a council estate where it may be acceptable to blow people's cars up if you think they've done you wrong or they've spoke out of turn. And he was also taught to respect people and be honest and know right from wrong. The thing he fails, of course, to realise is that in order to respect people, you need to give them respect. Something Gary knows little about. And knowing honesty and right from wrong, this man is a proven liar many times over. Let's carry on.
And again in that court today, so this is 4 times in court, 4 different judges. I've been awarded on a previous case £4,600 in costs, again, from which he's got to pay, which he's not paid a penny yet.
Okay, so this is just a big lie. 4 times in court, 4 times is won. and he's not been paid a penny, he says. This is the actual fact. Gary Tomlinson took me to the High Court for defamation about the Astomo site. He dropped that case. He took me and the British Masters race to the High Court for copyright infringement. He dropped the case against me and then went on to completely lie about the situation with the British Masters, which we'll come to. At court, the judge asked him what he was actually taking me to court about copyright-wise. The solicitor, the very well-paid solicitor, couldn't answer. I then decided to take him to lower courts because he was pushing me through the higher courts, which was a massive cost, and I was defending myself. I took him to the lower courts in Derby County Court. For the initial money, he never paid me. For the DVD, he never paid me the profits from. And for the 7 pigeons that he never gave me, which I paid £808 out for, all towards working towards his race. I was told by the judge on the first case, the money he owed me, because I had dropped the counterclaim against him in the High Court, I couldn't proceed. So that case was never heard. The DVD case, evidence, crucial evidence, which I've put up onto Astomo, the evidence that he didn't want to be heard in court, was submitted 2 days late and couldn't be heard. And therefore, yes, I did have that case dismissed and therefore lost the case. And yesterday, the 7 pigeons case, there wasn't enough evidence because he completely lied in court, saying it was never the agreement that I was paying third-party expenses against the 7 pigeons. Completely lied. Whereas he's still using roller banners now at his shows that I paid for, designed, everything, he's never paid a penny for. So when he says he's won 4 cases, it's a complete lie. You cannot win cases that you've dropped. At most, he could argue he's won 2. And I would say the reason he's won 2 is, 1, because he was not allowing the evidence to go in. If you've got nothing to hide, why wouldn't you allow the evidence in? And yesterday, the judge said he could not determine that the agreement, because it was a verbal agreement, and Gary Tomlinson lied through his teeth, he could argue, yes, I lost it because it was dismissed. But you can't win cases that you dropped in the High Court. Incidentally, this all started in November 2021, when Robert Tomlinson had a seemingly blossoming relationship with somebody called Lois Ryan, who at the time was very heavily involved in the race. Lois Ryan knew a solicitor called Aaron Wood from a high-end London-based solicitors company. Aaron Wood was the one that ultimately was lied to by Gary Tomlinson about the facts that pushed the High Court case. Gary Tomlinson, together with Aaron Wood, the solicitor, and Lois Ryan were on the virtual court hearing on the 15th of June 2022, when the judge asked exactly what are you taking Mr. Lyford to copyright infringement for? That was the 15th of June. It's very weird and interesting that the new engagement and marriage that was due to happen in the October never happened. And 3 days after the 15th of June, all sign of Lois Ryan and Rob Tomlinson's blossoming relationship and romance disappeared from social media, which has never been heard from again when it comes to the Tomlinson family. So, more lies. Very simple. People, his followers, his cult following will hear him say he won 4 court cases. It's complete BS. It's a complete lie. At most, he's won 2 because he's an out-and-out liar. And incidentally, I have applied for and will get the transcripts of all 3 court hearings at Derby County Court. And those transcripts will be published on the Astomo website. So everybody can see exactly what was said in court.
And again,
now, he's struggling for breath there. And he was struggling for breath yesterday after walking up the stairs to Derby Magistrates Court. One of the things that he said, which will be proven in court when the transcripts come out, is that he'd had cancer in the last 4 years. Now, interestingly, when his wife, Annette Tomlinson, posted that he may have had cancer, or may have cancer, that post was deleted the next morning. Did he? Has he got cancer? It could be another lie. It's a pretty sick thing to lie about, if that's the case. Why would he not want people to know he had cancer? Well, it may affect people entering into his race. But yesterday stated he'd had cancer. Another playing the victim, I'm bullying him thing. But of course, this is Gary Tomlinson. It's a one-sided thing always. Never did it enter his head, or did he give a single ounce of care that at the time, when Lee Sullivan was being taken to court, at a great stress to him and his family, that Lee Sullivan actually did have cancer. That doesn't matter to Gary Tomlinson.
This judge could clearly see who were telling the truth and who were telling lies.
Oh, this is a funny bit. The judge could clearly see who was telling truth and who was telling lies. As I've said, Tomlinson lied from the first sentence to the judge. He brought up many irrelevant facts, and somehow he thinks the judge could clearly see who's telling lies. Again, the transcript of yesterday will come out, and everybody can read exactly what was said and what exactly the judge said.
So that's 4 judges, different judges, 4 different court cases. Mark Lyford has lost every case against Gary Tomlinson, Who Dares Wins, Annette Tomlinson, and Robert Tomlinson.
Again, Gary, get it through your thick, bold head. You can't win cases you dropped. You dropped 2 of the 4 cases.
Now, the people out there who've continued to believe him and support him and listen to the bullshit what comes out of his mouth, now I hope you can eat your words and you can see who's telling the truth and been telling the truth all along. Remember, 4 courts, 4 different judges, 4 times I've won.
Come on, Gary, you're just repeating yourself now. You didn't win 4 times, and all the people out there that thought you were bullied and misjudged by me, many people know who you really are, Gary.
RPRA, twice in front of RPRA trying to get me banned for life. Twice I've beat him. I've won.
Again, Gary's definition of a win for cases dismissed, he thinks he's won. Yes, I did take him to the RPRA twice. One about the 30 pigeons he reported as strays, which he never entered into his race. And one connected to Johnny Langham, which we'll talk about in a later, with vile, horrible rumours. Speaking of the RPRA, I'm amazed that they can sanction, give a license to his race when he's categorically lied about having quarantine station and lied about how he's got pigeons in. I'm surprised that they can sanction and license a race that brings in hundreds of pigeons illegally and then, albeit for a short time, re-exports them to France for the final race. Many of those pigeons don't come back. Only 2 weeks ago, he somehow managed to get the front page of the British Homing World and a montage of his 2023 race, just at the same time that the RPRA's own one-off race needs as much publicity as it can get. But yet Gary and Who Dares I Win got onto the front page of the British Homing World.
And you only win by telling truth.
You only win by telling the truth. Come on, Gary.
When you tell truth, you don't have to look over your shoulder. You don't have to look behind you. You can wake up in the morning with a clear conscience.
When you tell the truth, you can wake up with a clear conscience. You don't have to look behind you. You don't have to look over your shoulder. As again, the transcripts of the court will show exactly what lies he said in court. But when we talk about looking over your shoulder, let's talk about other people that Gary has lied to, intimidated, and bullied. If Gary wakes up with a clear conscience, that shows you the type of man that he is. And if he wakes up with a clear conscience about how he's treated my good friend now, Maurice O'Donnell, who Gary called personally and threatened to blow him and his family up in his own house. Ask Maurice, one of the most honest and open men you will meet in pigeon racing, if Gary Tomlinson actually did that. And he'll tell you he did. In fact, weirdly, it's funny that after meeting Maurice, Gary and I in the Algarve in 2019, Maurice offered to put up 50,000 guaranteed prize money for Gary. This was after I had introduced all the ideas of payment plans and guaranteeing the money. But Gary couldn't afford at the time to guarantee all of the money, and Maurice offered to put up the 50,000 in exchange for 10% interest. Gary ever refused that ever happened, but it did. And then he went on to threaten to blow Maurice up with his family in his house.
And his words to me coming out of court when I said, well, that's 4 you've lost now. His words were, tick tock, I'm going to ruin your race and let's see what entries you get.
Total lies again. Why would I want to ruin his race? He's already doing a really good job of doing it himself. He doesn't need anybody else's help. The success of his race is a result of hard work and honesty. For example, he set up only a quarantine station in the UK and imported pigeons from all over the world for his 2003 race. But he had no license. DEFRA didn't allow him one because his lofts were not adequate. Why were they not adequate? He says because they were made out of wood. Would DEFRA ever grant a license to a quarantine station in a barn building that's hundreds of years old? But he still imported the pigeons. And he even went on to lie to other one loft races and offer his services to them. That was after he said he was going to dob in any other one loft race that he saw having pigeons come in illegally.
I said you've been trying for 4 years now and failed. So please continue.
I genuinely think his memory's failing him. I don't need to tell people about his race because many people know about him and his race. Hundreds, thousands of people now know about Gary Tomlinson. As these stats will show, thousands of individual people have come to this website and found out about him. The same website he tried to take me to the High Court about to get took down.
So, you people out there, which have ever doubted me, ever doubted my family, I hope you're now prepared to eat your words, because we've had to put up with this for 4 years.
Come on, Gary. People know who you are. You've got your little band of merry followers and your little sheep. They'll always support you no matter what. But everybody else who knows you really are.
And remember, this is a man who started another new enterprise now called Pioneer Syndicates. Can't you see all he's after? He's after getting your bank details. He's after getting your email addresses. The man's a professional con man.
Blimey, Gary, more defamation, more liable. A professional con man. I hope you got proof for that. Pioneer Syndicates is a great new thing I'm doing to get as many people into good quality one-off races who are not run by scumbags like Gary Tomlinson with the very best pigeons around. I want to get their bank details and email addresses. Come on, Gary, is this the same along the lines of I've hacked into your computers and made your live streams go wrong? Incidentally, if you want to get involved in real top quality one-off races, both in the UK and abroad, go to pioneersyndicates.com. You'll enter into great races. You'll have a part for as little as £10 in syndicates of great one-off races, only the best, ran by great people, and have the ability to fly top pigeons from the likes of Formula One Lofts, Maurice O'Donnell and John Angwin. And we're only just beginning. Let's get back to the most open, honest and transparent man in pigeon racing.
Remember, he gets a buzz. He gets a buzz out of filming girls wearing braces. He gets a buzz out of filming girls wearing braces. That's the type of person he is. That's in his own autobiography.
Blimey, Gary, more defamation. Yes, I ran 32,000 porn sites back in the day. They were all legal and licensed, ran by a company called Adult Check. Every single model used was over the legal age with full written consent and ID. But more about this vile, horrible spreading rumours later on.
And yeah, I'm laying a lot of steam off now because we've bottled this up for 4 years. And finally, the end, it's finished with. Finally, I've beat the bastard. Once and for all.
Letting a lot of steam off, Gary, that's for sure. But it's not exactly like you've been quiet for the last 4 years about all of this, is it?
So, we now at Who Dares Wins move on and put all this behind us. And I hope there's other people out there what's got some respect for us. And the people who ever doubted us can now turn around and say, hang on a minute, we got it wrong. Yeah, because I told the truth. You don't have to do it anymore if you're telling the truth.
Respect for you. People that doubted you. Come on, Gary, who are you kidding?
So, again, thanks to the people who have stuck by me and stuck by my family. And I know it's probably a bit degrading coming on social media saying this, but
how many people have not stuck by you and actually found out what you really like? Degrading coming on social media, Gary. You're the one that started the entire thing on social media. In fact, I asked you, do you really want to take this to social media? And you did.
As you know, my family's been broadcast on social media more than anybody. Who Dares Wins have been broadcast on social media more than anybody to damage us.
Why is that, Gary? Who Dares Wins has been broadcast on social media because of all the lies you've been telling and people finding out. Nobody else tells more lies than you. And why do you think you've been damaged? Because of those lies.
And finally, it's backfired on him. Finally, it's the end of the court cases and we've gone and beat him. And we've beat him by telling the truth and by being honest. And that's the difference between me and Mark Lyford.
Backfired on me, Gary. You wouldn't know the truth if it slapped you in your bold face.
Remember, my dad didn't make me change my name. His dad made him change his name because he spent 4 years in prison.
Again, more lies and bullshit, Gary. I didn't spend 4 years in prison. I spent 2 for growing cannabis for nothing else. Never been charged, never been in prison for anything other than growing cannabis, a plant.
And every time he come out and then a crime was committed, his name cropped up. So that's why I had to change his name. So finally, that's the end of it.
Every time I came out, Gary, I came out once. I changed my name, not because anybody asked me to, because I wanted to.
Now moving on 2 days wins. We were seriously getting stuck into the one Loft pigeons, the winter race pigeons, next week. That's for certain. The summer.
Get a bit of promotion in there, Gary. You need all the promotion you can get. You mean the winter race that's turned into a yearling race? You wanted 600 entries. Incidentally, the 600 entries, if you'd have got, would have covered the shortfall you had for the summer race because you had such low bad numbers. But you only got 200 and something pigeons, and 30 of them were venture pigeons. And you charged £10 to people that didn't manage to sell their pigeons at auction, and then said money doesn't matter to you after everything you've been, but went on to charge £10 per person. Now you've got 100 and something odd pigeons that you've got to race for £10,000 for, and you've basically screwed it all up. And greed has got the better of you, because I'll guarantee you won't be doing another one again because it's just too much hassle and not worth it.
Our entries are going very well. Make no mistake about it. I've just had a text message now, 10 entries booked, and it's been pretty constant most of the week. I've had entries through the post again this morning. Remember, it's £150 a bird this year, so you're getting 3 birds for £450, or you can just enter one for £150.
Summer race, get some more promotion in there for the summer race, Gary. You need all the luck you can get to get as many entries as you can. Now, this man's not about the money at all. Another lie. There's nobody in the pigeon sport more about the money than Gary Tomlinson. Don't forget that. We'll come back to what you should think about when entering his summer race, if you indeed decide to, a little bit later on.
Yeah, onwards and upwards. Things are looking great. Pigeons are nice and healthy. And we move on now.
Things are looking great. Great. Why don't you tell all the people that entered your race, or people that maybe entered into your race, how many pigeons you've actually got entered? He's doing a prize draw in Blackpool. You can enter and you can win entries in his race. Let's talk about Blackpool for a minute. If you see Gary Tomlinson in Blackpool, ask him this question. Why will you never see Gary Tomlinson in Blackpool on his own? I know the answer why. 2019, when I was arranging to go to Blackpool with him to help promote his race, his wife came with him to Blackpool. He admitted why he would never be in Blackpool on his own, and why his wife felt the need to come with him to Blackpool. That's because Gary Tomlinson, the family man, the man that family matters completely to him, Annette, Rob, and whoever else he decides, in Blackpool, met up with a woman and essentially had an affair. That's the reason you'll never see Gary Tomlinson on his own in Blackpool. The great family man, open, honest, and transparent man that he is. Also, going back to Blackpool for a minute, if Gary Tomlinson approaches you and offers to give you money to beat me up in front of my son, as he's done quite a few times at different shows, and specifically did in Blackpool a few years ago, don't fall for the bait. Gary Tomlinson loves to offer people money to do the dirty work for him. He's offered people considerable money to beat me up in front of my own son at Blackpool show.
Finally now, put this to bed once and for all. And I just hope that people who have followed this bastard can now see him for what he is.
Dear Gary, people that followed me can see me for what I am. I'm the person that finally stood up to you and wouldn't accept any of your bullying. The day my car got set on fire, 70 minutes after we had a phone call about the money you owed me, is the day you thought that would be the end of me. I may not be a fighter like you, although I don't think you can fight much at the moment in your current state of health, but I'm a fighter in another way using my brain. And I've used my brain to expose you for what you really are. So yes, the people that follow me know what you really are. And know I'm the guy that stood up to you. It's funny. Many people at shows have come up to me who I don't know and have congratulated me for how much I've stood up to you, Gary, because nobody else in the past has. And as a result of me standing up to you, other people have stood up to you as well, which you hate, because bullies hate being stood up to. So, are we still enjoying the popcorn?
I've got emails here where you talk about bullies. I've got emails here from Lyford where he wanted a certain man in Ireland. I'll name him Jimmy Hamilton. He wanted Jimmy Hamilton hurting in a big way. I've got emails from Lyford quoting that.
Oh, how ironic. Gary Tomlinson talking about Jimmy Hamilton, two of the biggest bullies in the pigeon sport that the world's ever known. Here are the exact things I said to Gary Tomlinson about Jimmy Hamilton, who is a bully and a horrible individual at that. And as you'll see from them, I said, I've decided I want to see Hamilton go down. That doesn't mean be attacked. That means be out of the pigeon sport. Unlike you, Gary, normal people, normal nice people don't go around threatening to blow people's houses up, potentially blow people's cars up, and attack people generally. When they mean by people going down, they mean they would like to see them go out of the pigeon sport, just as many people would like to see you go out of the pigeon sport. Jimmy Hamilton was one of the very first people that contacted me when I got back into racing pigeons and turned in to be a horrible bully. And he pretends to be not in it for the money. But just like you, Gary, he is. This is a man that had a very old man in a pigeon club local to him beaten up. So two bullies talking about each other. These are the screen caps of exactly what I said to Gary Tomlinson. Again, fact.